Dear friends, I'm glad to welcome everyone to the Fagin Live channel. Today is Friday, February 28th. The time is 9:01 p.m. in Kyiv, 10:02 p.m. in Moscow. We are conducting another stream on our channel. We are doing it with our friend, musician, and leader of his own band, Maxim Pokrovsky. Maxim, we are glad to see you.
Likewise, Mark. Hello. Hello to all esteemed viewers and subscribers.
Yes, well, it must indeed be said that on the 24th, Maxim released a significant new work, attending on the 3rd anniversary of the start of the war. As you may remember, we talked about it, and it's a noteworthy music video, a musical composition. We will talk about it in more detail now. We will place a link to Maxim Pokrovsky's official YouTube channel and the band Nogu Svelo in the chat for your convenience. Please take the time to watch this informative and entertaining material during the session or after it concludes. And accordingly, there will also be a link to Maxim Pokrovsky's channel in the description of this video. And accordingly, you can see this latest work there. So, but we will talk more broadly. I mentioned 3 days and 3 years in the most general way. Today is the 5th, the last day of February. So we are partly summing up, but all this is happening against the backdrop of, on one hand, such a sad anniversary, the events happening within Russia. And we can, as it were, move from the cultural to more broadly touch on the political context of what is happening and the relevance, in fact, of involving especially the cultural part of the migration, in Russian migration, in the political agenda. Let's perhaps start with that. Look, Maxim, you have always been distinguished by a certain civic-mindedness. You always have works that are not only lyrical, but also, I would say, respond to a well-known demand, both public and otherwise. So you have never ignored it, I must say. Although we already talked about this in the previous broadcast, despite all the harsh events happening in the background, many of your colleagues, not only those who stayed in Russia, have remained completely deaf to everything that is happening, and often even demonstrated their incredible servility. Because while you sing about the war, about Putin and everything else, they, on the contrary, go to Donbass and continue to cover the topic of war in propagandistic interests and support the government's decisions. To be honest, there are a lot of talented people among them as well. We will now give the opportunity to respond, and at the same time, we ask Konstantin to show us clips, placing a window next to it of what is happening in this video. We will demonstrate this in a limited way because there are very strict rules on YouTube that could simply block the channel. So we are listening, Maxim. What can you say here?
Thank you, Mark. Thank you very much for referring to our channel. I urge everyone, it is incredibly important for us that you come and subscribe, those who are loyal to us. There you go. Well, I will definitely answer the question asked. Right now, we see the bears, these cheerful, supposedly cheerful bears, who embody some kind of storytellers of a rather grim story in our video, Form of Life, which, I repeat, is on our YouTube channel, the Nogu Svelo channel. So, with immense gratitude to our Stana's son, Ilya Pokrovsky, this video clip is mainly his achievement, and to Tana herself. I will talk more about this since you mentioned Mark and announced that we will still be discussing the video clip. Regarding civic-mindedness, I think it's absolutely right to say, and I believe it's a good illustration of the situation itself. In my personal opinion, I never considered myself involved until a certain point. To be completely honest, I was extremely apolitical and deeply immersed in music. Two processes happened simultaneously. The first process is that in society, particularly in Russian society, it became completely unbearable. And at this point, any person, any form of life, any representative of that form of life to which they belong, I mean at least our form of life, my form of life, your form of life, our form of life, Mark, which is what the video clip and the song are directly about. I'm referring to this not for advertising purposes. The song is directly about this. It is mentioned there. So the form of life must rise. It must stand up. like the living creatures in the children's movie, the children's folktale Avatar. They just need to stand up, indeed. They need to come out, truly. They need to bite, dig, fly, crawl, fart, and piss in the eyes. With their eyes, it's still like dew from God, but this form of life must make a sound. Scratch, I repeat. Prick with pins. If not, then the whole world should just go. This is what everyone should have done. This is what we are actually trying to do. And I was, surprised that you started our meeting not by mentioning that I don't let go of my phone. Right now, I might as well perhaps just open the news live. Let me see. Let me open it right now. President of France, Macron, Russia too.
Ukraine is a victim. Many people are writing here. I apologize for interrupting. Look, we will also touch on the current agenda somehow, but believe me, let it settle first. The situation is developing in special competencies. We won't, so to speak, hastily comment on things live, as they say, in the heat of the moment. And we will seriously discuss this tomorrow after all the events have unfolded. I'm in America myself, and Maxim is also in America. But nevertheless, yes.
I just don't want to disappoint your subscribers again and say that we are pretending not to know with a phone in hand.
We all know, yes.
That's right, we all know. And again, speaking of, put it down, threw it on the floor, so to speak, regarding the civic stance right now, at this very minute. Well, okay, 7 to 15 minutes before our stream, the phrase was said that it's time for us to take to the streets. It's time for us to take to the streets here already. This is about the fact that a form of life should not remain indifferent when another form of life poses a mortal threat.
Well, look, by the way, more than 4,000 people are watching us now. 1,500 have liked it, I remind you. Yes, please share the links to this broadcast in your social media accounts. Like the video, make sure to subscribe to the Fegenlov channel and Maxim Pokrovsky's channel. You can see it at the beginning and in the description. Yes, there are many channels linked there. It's easy to subscribe and check out the materials posted there. But look, here's an astonishing thing. Let's pay a known tribute. We left as if from the Moscow concentration camp. It's clear that America is a different country. America is a free country, and not even 100 Trumps will change that. Everyone should understand this clearly. However, the astonishing thing is that it turns out it's not freedom that corrodes or this cynicism, but rather different boundaries altogether. It doesn't necessarily mean that being in Russia, like in a concentration camp, all other spaces are devoid of this, the state, which can encompass even completely prosperous places. Something remotely similar is happening in American political life. There is a very painful reaction to what is happening with the arrival of the new Trump administration. And what about freedom in America? To what extent are Americans similar in the sense that they can succumb to this state of unfreedom? We are talking about Russia, like in the clip Mishki. Form of life. How is it here? Are there problems with this or not? You've been in America for a long time.
Yes, in the clip, it's not just Mishkin. You need to watch it. There's also a laboratory where this humiliating form of life is created and dancing priests and so on. That's it. Mark, everything is correct. But being a person in this field who is 1,000 times less knowledgeable than you, I will just carefully add to your words. You mentioned that this is happening in American political life. I suppose since I am, well, in America, I am an ordinary person. In Russia, I was theoretically able to access certain offices, but in America, I don't have access to offices. So apart from communicating with the people, I have no one to talk to in America. And this is a big problem, and this is the answer to your question. Unpleasant things are happening in American society. You know, it's not quite the people, but it's also kind of the people. Let me give you some examples, just sketches. One of the sketches is like this. During the election period in the USA, we released, and it really coincided that we made this song, wrote this song before the elections. For the last 2 or 3 months, we were making the video already knowing that we would release it during the elections. I mean, the song Vote For Me, which is on the Nogu Svelo YouTube channel. It's a song in English, as you understand, and we are promoting something, trying in the American market. We didn't manage to promote the song Vote For Me at all. During the so-called promotion of this song, I spoke in a very engaging and fascinating discussion with a billionaire of Russian origin. It's not quite the people, as I understand it. It's also not politics. So, one billionaire of Russian origin, whom I asked to help me with contacts and connections in the show business world to promote this song, the billionaire wanted to help me, or at least pretended to want to, but I even suspect that he genuinely wanted to help. And after some time, he came back to me with the information that in the highest circles of Russian and American show business, in the highest circles, he talked and realized that no one wants to help us and will not, because they are afraid. Because no one was against Trump at that time. Then, a few months before the elections, or a few weeks before the elections, no one wanted to say anything anymore. They were afraid. That's one sketch. The second sketch, I really appreciate our guys. And we talked with one of our guys literally right here in this very house of mine, one floor directly up. I am currently in the studio right now with our musician who says very correct and accurate things, who is leaning towards the ultra left, maybe not the most ultra left, but still left, meaning democratically inclined, young and inclined. A young guy, he says that, well, yes, now everyone needs to focus on living well and correctly and on interacting with local authorities. There are very good people in local authorities who want a lot. That's right. So he's not wrong. I even tried to interact with some local, not just any, but our local authorities. Here in my neighborhood, there's a deputy. I needed him for one issue, and so on, but no one takes to the streets. No, they do, but not en masse. And in society now, and this has been for a long time, I tell my neighbors, and my neighbor starts with me, a direct neighbor, a neighbor in the house. Back then, I don't know, 5 years ago, and when the neighbor starts a conversation, then it's like, shh, shh, shh. So we understand that we are a free country. But shh, this shh is indeed absolutely no different from the Russian shh in any way, at all. No different. And the fact that now everyone thinks that such, Tanya told me this today. Tanya pointed it out. Tanya is my wife, for those who don't know. Tanya is actually Tanya by herself. But we, husband and wife. So. She says, look, it's the same as it was in Russia. When Putnik started creating this, another sort of, another batch of wonders, we all, it won't come to that. Oh, come on, listen, really. No, it won't come to that. Come on, listen, really. That's how it all is. Here, everything happens like this or not. I don't know. I'm not so well versed in American internal life as I would like to be. I came to understand how stereotypes work and how fear and the fear of losing understanding within one's bubble work when we were preparing for the trip to Israel. What is happening in society here? I truly take my hat off to the incredibly dedicated and committed members of our team who did extremely serious internal work before those who went with me to Israel. And those who participated in these concerts, they are already heroes. But what lay ahead for them? What internal questions did they have to resolve? This thought just came to my mind now. What to do with the fact that those you rely on, since here it is still bipartisan, a bipartisan system, not two-party, but two main parties, what our so-called respected Democrats are doing, who with one hand support Israel and with the other hand educate. My daughter calls from the university, says, Dad, there's a protest under my windows. These are sketches. These are not answers to questions. This is a setup. But at the very least, it's posing questions, muches about what is happening in this society right now. We have gone through this path. I don't know. It hasn't ended. We haven't gone through it because it ended. We went through what we went through in Russia. We didn't go through it from the very beginning. I didn't even go to Bolotnaya. During the Bolotnaya period, I started to concern myself very little. But you see, we went through what we went through, and now we wonder, do we have to go through this here? Do we have to prepare to be outcasts here now? Okay, this is what's happening in society.
So already 5.5 thousand have joined the broadcast, but today it's understandable people are distracted by the current agenda. To those who often ask me questions, I typically and usually say without delay or hesitation that we don't do that. We don't react hastily. We let the information settle. Let others comment on the current news and react emotionally. We will calmly hold a broadcast with Kurbanova tomorrow on Saturday and analyze what will have developed by then in connection with Zelensky's visit to the White House and what happened there. We are all following this, but the situation is evolving, so let's not rush. Let's dedicate this Friday evening to another topic that has been announced, and we will primarily talk about it. Let's return, Maxim, to those who stayed in Russia. Many of your colleagues, as you are part of a large rock music community, we talk about this repeatedly. But time and again, we are amazed because what is happening in Russia, we constantly try to answer ourselves how from the rebelliousness of rock music in general, we came to this total servility, particularism, or even calculation. From many musicians, especially those from Moscow, the most famous ones, we see incredible obsequiousness. Somehow, I recently listened to the moral code and so on. Everyone needs to make their mark. Someone was told it's immediately clear to go to Donbass, do the right interview, and remove some material that someone recorded in Ukrainian. And there are many like that. I just named the first one that came to mind. Do any of these people maintain any communication with you at all? Do they continue to talk to you about this, or is there no contact at all? I mean, those who stayed.
You mean musicians?
Yes, musicians.
No, well, look, I'm quite the conversationalist myself. The thing is, we were very unsociable even before. Well, just look at us right now. You are indeed here in our studio. Since COVID, all production is done here. On multiple occasions, several times people have come to me trying to write lyrics for songs. I must apologize. I do have friendly connections, friendships with some musicians, of course, those who do not support the war. I have always been very much, and I constantly said and say this, I have always been surprised by the surprise. That surprised me. Surprise? What exactly are you surprised about? The thing is, rock music, which has donned the image of rebels or truth seekers and honest people, their honesty mainly consisted in the past years of saying that they played live, not to a backing track. They were also squealing about something else. Well, maybe they did play live, but that's not what we're talking about now. Now, it doesn't matter who plays to a backing track and who doesn't. There's a war going on now. There's its own soundtrack playing, and it's not a cheerful one. This is a completely long conversation. And if you want, it's perhaps a topic for some conversation in a few months or even years. I don't know, a topic for another discussion. The topic of how history is being written now, and the topic of how they are now trying to find the roots, where, in what, and the reasons why musicians behave this way, and why should they behave differently. What should motivate them to behave differently in a meaningful and impactful way? You might understand me, Maxim, but you, for example, behave differently in your group.
No, but from within Russia, some people remain silent. Some group like Spleen or so on, we know for sure that they remain silent. I mean, it's kind of visible, it's noticeable. That is, they do not participate in this chorus, being aware that life is long. And, making a fool of oneself is not ideal either. They do it this way while others try to understand differently.
Well, you see, we have gradually answered this question with you. I cannot speak for those in Russia who remain silent, but do so wisely. Am I understanding you correctly? Yes, of course. I speak for myself and for us. What we did, we were fully aware of it. It's not that we are writing our own history in any way. We are analyzing our own actions. We were conducting a cultural evacuation. We began this cultural evacuation somewhere in the early 2000s. Conversations, thoughts, then some more serious thoughts, then some first steps and actions, then 10 or however many years ago, I don't remember, obtaining European citizenship for Tanya and the children, and so on and so forth. Those were the steps. Then there were relative, absolutely conscious steps, like the United States of America, and so on. We just felt uncomfortable with it. We felt very uncomfortable with it, which actually led to the fact that by the time, let's say, the war started, or even earlier at the time of Alexei Navalny's poisoning, may he rest in peace, we had not just a tool. By tool, I mean the ability to write a song, record it, mix it, distribute it, and if desired, independently shoot a music video, which we have just done. Please, private forms of life, it only remains to decide whether we will use it or not. And we made the decision that, yes, we will use it. Of course, we have the opportunity to use it more, and more than those who stayed in Russia, by millions of times. But nevertheless, these are all parts of a conscious path. The path, I repeat once again, we started because we were uncomfortable, but the environment, that environment is what I'm getting at, what I'm talking about. That environment, that rock environment, has always been filled with falseness. Falseness, lies, false poses, and repeated falsehoods, false statements, and lies were clearly visible in the eyes of a large percentage of representatives of this genre. This was a sufficiently large number for the balance to tip. Why this happened is a complex question. One can delve further into the intricacies and nuances of the situation. But many are now trying to write this history, make films, and create documentaries, analyzing how it happened, why. And politicians are making films titled Traitors, trying to express their thoughts. And in cultural circles too, so to speak, people are making films and showing and sharing their point of view on what happened. I have a different point of view on what happened. Different. Everyone knows this. I have a different point of view. I have a different point of view because there was a monopoly on rock music. It was, in fact, it was defined by the existence of one large corporation that managed and controlled everything for enough years to create a style, a stereotype, a manner of behavior, a way of expressing thoughts, a way of speaking. Even a specific dialect in rock music emerged. And it was remarkably deceitful in its majority. That's just why it happened. In essence, here's the concise and brief answer. However, the long answer is not a 7-hour investigation of what happened. I'm talking about undeniable facts now. Let me clarify. I'm specifically talking about the fact of Berezovsky's purchase of Channel 1. I'm talking about a fact. I don't even have an opinion about him. Some often call him Boris Abramovich because they respected him. I don't know. I wasn't acquainted. Maybe I would have respected him too if I had known him. I don't know. The answer is I don't know. But he bought it. Then he played a pivotal role in the establishment and growth of our radio station, whether by purchasing, creating, or providing financial backing. Furthermore, he was instrumental in the rise and dominance of Real Records, which evolved into a massive, unbeatable, and leading monopoly in the industry, where all major decisions were made. The only thing missing for quite some time was a significant and major festival. But it didn't take long to appear to the scene. It eventually made its grand appearance. Indeed, yes, with an absolutely brilliant and fitting name, because it clearly defined what was happening in the industry. And it was an absolutely unbreakable, absolutely unbeatable almighty machine for, let us say, a good decade. Well, not a good decade, but rather quarter of a century. But in the early stages of its existence, when it was forming, it was creating a pool of us, musicians, which I was also a part of, somewhere there. So not in the leading roles, to put it mildly, but I was part of it. In the pool of those who were played, occasionally invited, after a bit of consideration, whether to call or not, and so on. That's it. It was certainly the environment, undoubtedly became the environment from which I left. with my own damn Pokrovsky legs, I left, and I don't want to be there. That's it. And why do you think now, at this moment, how can I tell you, Mark, that for me, that this one, and this one supported the war? For me, it's not even, well, to be honest, I don't even understand what to talk about. Like, why did the fly go to the shit? Yes, you know, the fly damn eats shit. Yes.
It's because some of those who left, like Kozyrev or others, still hold on to the version that everything was indeed wonderful. And so to speak, the current festival of invasion, the invasion continues, by the way, in Russia.
I don't really know exactly what's happening with them over there.
Now he's definitely more or less for the special military operation there. Yes, well, in one form or another, and that everything was supposedly good and right, and that this state or quasi-state beginning with Boris Abramovich or someone else, well, it could all continue and it would be just as free and good. But then Putin happened, right? It turns out that it was initially within this community, this part, yes, cultural, musical, rock musical. So it turns out this was indeed initially this trouble, meaning it was truly doomed. All of it, just like the Russian political history, yes. So we are actually going in circles, dialectical, or I don't know what kind, infernal, like in Dante. But this environment, it shouldn't have been relied upon on the oligarchs, shouldn't have been, writers shouldn't have been. Now they've reached the peak. They've made Medinsky a writer. There's a council with Simonian, and the same goes for rock music. It was the same kind of writers' union, just different. If you ask me, Mark, at what level I place Mikhail Kozyrev in terms of my respect for him as a person and as a decent person, I swear to you and your viewers,
I place Mikhail on the highest level. He is an extremely decent person, yes, but Mikhail, in my opinion, and he knows this, we haven't had big conversations with Mikhail on this topic, but there have been, well, relatively big conversations. I disagree with him. He knows this. That's exactly why I am now, well, I have a public appearance, so it's almost like saying it to his face. I would prefer to say it directly to him, but I repeat, Misha is a wonderful person, and I know how he worries and how he is engaged in self-reflection.
well, yes, excuse me, Maxim, he spoke in Los Angeles and confessed, said that he was also at fault. He has already said this publicly, actually. It was shown.
Okay. I just didn't watch it. I wasn't at that performance. I wasn't in Los Angeles. And here, well, it's not just about one person. I don't know how issues were resolved at our radio, at the Art Council of our radio, how collegially they were resolved. I was never there. What the weight of each person was. That's it. I communicate with these people. I have to look them in the eye. I have to shake their hand. If they continue to offer me their hand, but these are good people. They are decent people. But the system, a friend of mine, well, we're not exactly close friends. We don't see each other often. A very good opposition journalist, whose name I won't mention at this moment, because he hasn't given me the authorization to quote him directly. Yes, he said, but he's truly a very good journalist. He told me something along the lines of this: wherever we go, we still end up at the CPSU. We have the CPSU happening everywhere. So therefore, sorry, we all have the virus. So we're already moving on. The concert is soon. We need to get ourselves in order. So in the CPSU, it's always the same. You have to follow the party line. That's why I'm still holding on to that question you asked. Why these musicians? Honestly, for me, I understand that we are speaking on your channel. Yes, and we are kind of averaging things out with you. So for me, the song that just came out, Forms of Life, yes, The song itself, I mean, the work on the song is no longer relevant. They are already in the past. Actually, I'm working on something completely different now, although we are actively talking about the release of our new work. For me, it's like a loss for society, for decent people, these musicians who support the war. For me, this has long been a question from days long past. It doesn't interest me at all. It didn't interest me in principle. They only interested me as if, bam, just like that, bam, and that's it. That's my entire interest in them. If ever I end up there, where I'm not aiming to go, if just by chance, bam, just like that, and move on.
Well, yes, because the thing is, the state has now defined itself completely. And in doing so, they dictate who will be your musician, your audience, in every aspect, completely and utterly. There, Chicharina. To me, she's just a complete crazy drug addict, but that's her personal business, her personal matter. However, her public role is not her personal issue. This is a question of challenging Putin's state for us regarding what they are doing, and we have the right to give evaluations because it's not about her as an individual, because she could be whatever she wants if she were just focusing on herself. But she is part of a propaganda machine, just a very specific part of it that represents the so-called creative musical environment that is supposed to influence a certain segment of the audience. You push this narrative, you understand, and you work in this direction, but this is mediocrity. And there are indeed people who have said, well, no way, we will go our own way. And when asked to perform and support, they say, but our creativity is here. And we say, your creativity is not needed if you make this compromise, if you allow yourself to say, here I'll be a bit of a sellout, but here I'll still remain an artist and create important material work that will remain as part of art. The value of this art, that's what it's about. And these reproaches that are sometimes heard, that this heightened civic mindedness, political stance, that it harms the creative beginning and so on, can easily be nullified, because in reality, perhaps from all this, what remains is the person's position. Someone might not have listened to Pugacheva's pop music, but what remains is that she could have said, I'm an old woman, leave me alone. She could have left, yes, we stayed home and that's it. Everyone leave me alone. I'm a people's artist and I'm just sitting here not bothering anyone. But a person makes a civic act and maybe her songs will be forgotten, but I don't think so. I might not be a fan, but the stance will remain, and no matter what you do with it, I understand that this is now lowering the tone of the conversation, but I want to say we didn't boast because it's not very good. But at one of our concerts, she was there. Yes, I saw in Israel.
No.
In Riga, sorry, in Jurmala.
Nope. Well, no. In Jurmala, at Limas, yes. Well, I saw a photograph at a solo, at Svila's leg, at Svila's solo leg. I want to say she looks absolutely great, calm, just 100%, and behaves like that. She bought 2 tickets, 3 tickets, came to a small club, arrived on time, earlier than everyone else. Well, yes, to show off, I met her. She sat modestly at a table. Then she came to the dressing room after the concert, shook hands with everyone, thanked all the musicians who didn't really understand who had come, and then she left. That's style. That's great style. That's Pugacheva. This is truly significant on our scale, Mark, because it highlights her humanity, making her relatable and real. This aspect of her character is something that will endure and remain unchanged over time. This is perhaps the form in which I just wanted to agree with you. To say that, yes, a person's actions, decisions, behavior, of course, will remain.
Certainly, it's more than a creative legacy. Strange as it may seem, everyone thinks that I'll make some moral compromise, but my works will remain. Nothing will remain. Life proves that nothing will remain. Those who made these compromises, no matter how talented they were, everything is nullified. Just like in a fairy tale, everything, the pumpkin, poof, and it's gone. And you go on your own 2 feet, that is, nothing will remain. And therefore, those who make this compromise are doomed. So what's next then? All right, what's next? Abroad, there is already a certain circle of people who work in specific styles and directions. If we are talking about, well, at the border of popular rock music, and so on, meaning such a demanded genre. So can this music develop separately, considering that these people are in emigration, that they have detached themselves from the culture not by their own will, but due to political events? And can they establish themselves? I mean, for instance, when Mikhail Chekhov once went abroad, he essentially established a creative school there. And Mikhail Chekhov's acting school in America played a significant role, even though they performed according to Stanislavski. But that's not important. Can this emigrated part, primarily the musical part, play some role here? It's not necessary for them to become #1 in the charts, like in America or Europe. The question is, what role can they play? After all, Russian culture is unique. Is there this uniqueness in the rock music segment? That's what it's about.
Mark, it really depends on what kind of answer you want from me. I mean, what format? Perhaps a short answer.
A long one will suit us. We're not afraid of long ones.
Okay, then. I'll start with a short one, like an epigraph. It can, but it doesn't want to. What do I mean? Because the basis of Russian, as it were, popular music, well, I mean simply the quantity that has turned into quality in essence. This means a very important, very serious process in terms of sheer volume. A process that is deep, which needs to be done deeply, thinking about what you are doing. You can't just do it like that. It's like when you take something from your nose carefully and gently pull it out from the right nostril and then put it into the left one. You have to deeply ponder all of this, as it all happens against a backdrop filled with tears of sadness and depression. So now I'll say right away that I see us less frequently in this bubble-like situation we find ourselves more often than not these days. The album titled Amputation, well, honestly speaking, we didn't amputate ourselves at all. Certainly did not cut off those people whom we truly respect. That part, in particular, of the opposition society, but with Amputation, we talked about anti-war themes. That's it. We decided, by the way, this song, Forms of Life, once again, taking the opportunity, I'll remind you, on our channel, there's a music video, Forms of Life. It's an extra. It didn't even make it into the album. We want to move forward somewhere. The chance of us succeeding is very low, but I think, nevertheless, I will cling to it until the very end. And I still believe that this is my chance. Low, as they say, but mine. It's a bit of sophistry, but still. I believe that we can try to establish ourselves in the world. Establish ourselves in the world specifically by working, well, I don't know, to be specific. We are currently preparing a whole album in English and have even started writing in Spanish. There you go. One of the songs will be in Spanish. The verse is called Emigrant Brothers, Hermanos Emigrantes. There you go. I won't talk about it right now. This is a long, big, serious announcement of what we are doing. That's the first thing. But the first thing, and the second perhaps, should have been switched around. Still, for now, working within the bubble, it's kind of hard for us to be in the bubble because all this time, well, we have indeed produced many truly sentimental songs like Happy New Year, Sun, and Waltz of the Flying Birds. I'm not even sure if the critics, those very same unfortunate critics we discussed with you last time, have actually even heard them. Nevertheless, we have indeed focused a certain percentage of our efforts on producing material for work. Let's say, may he rest in peace once again, our dear and respected Alexei, the late and beloved, passed away a year ago. In memory of him, we released the song titled Navalny Will Return. We released it so that it could be worked with. Worked because it's indeed a chant, and it did actually work. It worked because if you look at my Instagram on the day Alexei passed away, there was a post saying, a dead Navalny is scarier than a living one. Get ready, Vova, you'll be there. And I didn't draw this poster. I stumbled upon it in my... We spend part of our time in Spain. I stumbled upon it. It's not a poster. It's a writing on the wall. It wasn't a poster. So it absolutely works. It undoubtedly works indeed, but I can just tell you one amusing detail as well. When this work came out exactly a year ago, a year and a few days ago, Misha Siesha Kozyrev highlighted it on his YouTube page. Wrote, well, a lot of terms were released, and there were, you see, comments. There was a comment from a person whom I respect very much and who has a good attitude. Towards me, he praised our previous works. This is Boris Gurevich Zosimov, the highly successful and renowned founder of Biz TV and MTV. He is a serious, good person. Boris Gurevich, I respect you. He writes, yes, it's work, but Vasya Oblomov's work came out the day before. It touched, but Max's didn't really touch. Well, you might ask me, Max, what do you want? Do you want your works to, like, impress everyone? No. Well, what then, Max? Here's the thing. Vasya Oblomov had an incredibly talented and gifted song. Very talented. I personally listened to it and thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, it's a 5+ for that truly remarkable composition. But it's like, to reminisce, to feel sad and reflect, I don't know, to commemorate, to drink. It's a very good piece. I'm serious right now. We supply such an IKEA. Assemble the toilet seat, the kitchen yourself. And in the kitchen, you also need to, after you assemble it, if Boris Gurevich, you wrote the following to me, went to a peaceful rally in memory of Alexei, and it was respectful. Shouted your song, Max, because there was no other. And shouted your somewhat talented one, but I like that one a bit more. This means that we are kind of doing something in a way. For me, this is doing something. I veered off a bit from answering the question, but I want to return to it. This is what Russian culture could do for itself and for society. To do something, and this, well, it's also necessary to be a bit sad. I'm not against it. Very well. Well, we kind of tried to do something. Now, I repeat, I'm a bit bored in the bubble, and we are trying to do it outside the bubble.
We still have the same 5,500 almost watching, and 3,500 viewers have liked it. It's clear that people are currently distracted by what's happening right now. Zelensky's interview, Fox News, and so on. I want to emphasize once again, we will address political topics in a separate broadcast. We will give it some distance so that events can fully develop. That is, we will see what happens by the evening. Apparently, there are still some events to come. It's unclear what's happening with the press conference. Most likely it won't happen, but we still need to give it a pause. There's no need to hastily seek reactions, especially on a Friday. Tomorrow we will have a broadcast with Kurbanov, and we will analyze everything, including how Zelensky's visit to the White House with Trump concluded.
I'm really quite disappointed, Mac.
Everyone is disappointed. Everyone is in a storm of emotions. But I repeat, that's a poor advisor in analysis. I always say that if you approach the issue seriously, you shouldn't react emotionally. You should always let things cool down and allow the information to settle before discussing it calmly, because our channel is current and political, but primarily focused on analysis. We don't work with information that can be easily found in other more authoritative places. But the interpretation of it, yes, that's what we do. And therefore, to discuss this seriously, at least a few hours need to pass. There you go. Well, we are almost wrapping up. We've been on air for almost 5 minutes. Summing up, it is indeed truly crucial to understand that this question rather concerns our overall fate. How do you see the future, even if it's distant, in light of everything that's happening? Because we are hostages to this political course of events, and what is destined for us, as well as what has already happened to us. Is there any perspective for Russian life beyond the metropolis of Russia itself and within it? Because Putin is not eternal, the war is not eternal, and many other things. There is something to return to, although you, Maxim, said that whether I end up there or not is no longer crucial. But if we do return, I mean, not just physically, but culturally return, we have a chance for this. We will be in demand. Culturally, I don't mean myself. People of art, people with a civic stance, there is something to return to there. To those who stayed, here I am.
For me, personally, there is a significant point, let's say, hypothetically speaking, if different times or circumstances come to pass. For me, of course, there would indeed be a point in considering a return, but only after having accomplished something meaningful and substantial here. I'm a different person, I repeat. I've been living for the last 20 years.
What was? There's no point in returning to it. What was there included? Brilliant compositions, work with cinema and with Sokuninsky, wonderful paintings from the 2000s and others that followed. So there's no point in returning there.
Honestly, I'll truly tell you, I really don't want to force myself to find some desire, a genuine desire, a desire to return and do anything at all. I'm interested in completely different things now. Look, you are a great person. You know how to organize conversations correctly, specifically how to organize the situation. So we, of course, do not touch on what we should not touch on according to your plan, specifically the current negotiations between Zelensky and Trump. But I want to say that this concerns me. I'm concerned. Well, first of all, I'm concerned about whether Europe will come to an agreement. This concerns me for Russia's sake in some distant 25th place too, but I'm primarily concerned about whether Europe will come to an agreement for Europe's own sake in the second place, and in the first place for Ukraine's sake. I'm interested in completely different things. I'm interested, and don't hit me too hard, Mark, but tomorrow, I don't know if you'll be discussing this. I'm concerned. I'm interested in the nuances of the English language in the negotiations between Trump and Zelensky. I'm very interested in this. I don't want to talk about the fate of the world right now. I don't even want to talk about the fate of Ukraine in vain right now, because this is your channel. This is your kind of dialogue. Just before we went live, I was browsing. Again, I was running through channels, through the news. I was listening to sort of, well, the tones and nuances and the words chosen by one. I mean, Trump himself. That's it. Well, my friend, I'm putting Zelensky first right now. I respect him a lot. That's it. And the way President Zelensky spoke, what concerns me is the question of how the dialogue will proceed, how relationships will be built, and in the negotiation room in particular, the language, and this is a serious issue. If you want, I'll say, I think Zelensky today is a great hero, but he wasn't playing on his own field. That's also clear. The language, it's a tremendous burden that he carried on his shoulders. He heroically managed it, but the English language harmed him greatly. His English is excellent, but it's not his native language. Trump needed to be put in his place in a completely different way. Sorry, I got sidetracked again. I just see how...
No, well, okay.
He says, Mr. President here. So yes, thank you. When we speak in our language, I would have said it differently. Not on at this level. With someone of my level, I would have spoken differently. He. Do you want to say in front of the American people that I'm like this now? Oh, no. Say it. Please, say that. Oh, whoa. How many millions did you spend? No. Stop. You only spent 50. Come on, stop. The American people heard that next, what happens next? How much did you spend on Iraq or Afghanistan? Okay, that wasn't me. It wasn't about how much was spent, but they spent so many millions, trillions, millions, damn, sextillions. Okay, the American people heard next. The American people heard that I said, thank you very much for your support. I said, thank you. So Zelensky did all of this, but he did it not in his own language. Okay, I won't talk about this anymore. That's it. But I'm interested in this. Not Mark. Beat me with whatever you want. I'm not interested in what I will do. And when I return to Russia, I will not return there. And I'm not interested in what I will do there, even virtually. I will leave our music on the platforms. I will somehow leave our music on Russian platforms, which currently pay me nothing because there are their own accounts because they took everything from us. I'm interested in what's happening in Europe because our daughter Tasia's friend, a very good friend, writes to her. He's German but lives in Graz, Austria. Yes, Tasia was there for a semester abroad studying at the university. He writes that your president is doing this and that. And of course, by our president, he means the redhead, the traveler. Tanya and I discuss it, and Tanya tells her, send this. There was a good message recently online that 500 million people living in Europe are waiting for help from 350 living in the USA to deal with 100 or how many, 70 Russians, who in turn cannot deal with 60. You with 60, oh, don't take risks. Sorry if I'm getting lost in the numbers right now. I'm interested in international issues. I'm interested in how our new composition is doing. It's called Scared of Being Afraid. It sounds too European. It needs to be pushed in Europe. I see Berlin there. And Tasha with her friend listen and say, oh, this is European music. And one of us, he doesn't like it. Our trumpeter says, oh, it's too European. But this one, on the contrary, this one is ours and it sounds more American. I'm interested in the world. I'm interested in what will happen with Europe. I'm interested in how we will be in Europe. By the way, we made this song, released this song, Forms of Life, as a trial balloon with the company, with the record label. Many thanks to them for the collaboration. They are called TMT. Many thanks to Artemy Troitsky for bringing us to this newly organized label. And we are now considering how the Dutch people are meant. Good luck. The Dutch, how they will hear it, how they will perceive it, whether our distributor will push it to America or not. We are now looking for opportunities to enter the Spanish market so that Hermanos Emigrantes say it's a good song. And it might touch people's hearts. I am interested in absolutely international, absolutely planetary movements in the field of culture and so on. I am very much interested, I repeat once again. Indeed, I am interested in the nuances of Zelensky's English, before which I now tip my hat. Mr. Zelensky, I am your fan. I am saying this now publicly. There. And may God grant you health and patience for enduring these negotiations the way you did. Damn. Absolutely incredibly cool. Dude, I mean, you know, like this college boy is really, really insolent, brazen. Hey, listen, you gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. I mean, in his language, he's got those bulldogs. Damn. I don't care right now what they think in Russia. They only think about one thing. Now that the sanctions will be lifted, they are rejoicing that they will now be farting not with palm oil, but with some other oil. That's how it was for me. I ran away from there. What difference does it make to me, whether it's Chicherin or not Chicherin? I couldn't care less about this Chicherina, and I don't care. The more they make such songs, the more I see this shaman. He's got a Z here, and over there he's got...
Well, that's a hopeless creature.
It's already a thrill. It's just the more they do it now. Yes, by the way, Mark, sorry, I should have mentioned this. Good thing I remembered. I actually, in my view, perceive such movements, so to speak, of representatives of culture as a super big gift for myself. Because it's like, I don't know, for example, to defecate and then lie down with a cheek, it's amusing. And then to take and shove your own feces into your eyes, that's what they're doing. No, but really it's like, this needs to be documented. It all needs to be in textbooks later, but no one has started. No one is learning from this. And back to the beginning of our conversation, the American people are not learning from this right now. This is what we talked about at the beginning. That's what worries me. These people will need to be saved just like they saved in Germany. A soup for a film about the dangers of fascism. Everything is clear there. Nothing will happen on its own there. We won't just go there easily. We will go there if Europe comes to an agreement, at least among themselves, or if or when, who, and how will put Trump in his place. That's what really interests me. Damn it.
Well, we will keep an eye on the events. Nothing will end in any way so abruptly or without any warning. The world has reached such a point ever, so maybe what's happening in the USA is the final act of this story, because the scales need to tip either one way or the other. We'll see. In any case, we kind of, yes, tried to stick to the topic of politics in the context of culture, but we will leave ourselves the opportunity to return to this topic more than once, because we were on air for 55 minutes with more than 6,500 watching us and 4,000 giving their likes. I repeat once again, I know that everyone is now distracted by the news feed. I repeat, it's currently daytime in America, so it's about 3 o'clock. The same in Miami and now in Washington. So we just simply need to wait patiently in order to thoroughly examine the circumstances that have developed by the end of this day. Therefore, we will not make any hasty conclusions. We've seen all sorts of things like this, but in any case, we thank Maxim. A huge thank you to Maxim Pokrovsky. We urge everyone to subscribe to the Nogu Svelo channel. In the description of this video, in the chat, you can see the link to both the Form of Life clip and Maxim Pokrovsky's channel. Make sure to find the opportunity to just take a look
at this clip and other works on this channel, Nogu Svelo, and we will look forward to the next meeting. Thank you very much. Please be aware that we have an upcoming tour. All the information is literally on our website. We are going to Canada. Then people are writing that they are waiting for you in Portland, I believe, on March 10th. Check on our website. Let me quickly say where. Yes, of course. March 7th in Calgary, March 8th in Winnipeg, March 9th in Vancouver. That's the west coast of Canada. Then we are heading to the west coast of the USA and we'll be in Portland on March 10th. I have a note here, March 11th in San Francisco, a few days break. And then the east coast of Canada, March 15th in Toronto and March 16th. In Montreal.
Well, an extensive program. Yes, we are showing it right now on the channel.
Thank you very much.
Yes, so please kindly visit the official website. Those who live in the mentioned places in Canada and America, please take a detailed and thorough look at the information provided. You can travel, attend the concert, take advantage of this opportunity. Well, Maxim, thank you very much.
We will see each other again.
Thank you, viewers.
Glory to Ukraine, Zelensky, we are with you.
Glory to the heroes.
Thank you.